You're listening to the Love and Language podcast, where we inspire hearing parents of deaf children and remind you that as long as you're giving your child love and language, you're doing a great job.
Welcome back to the Love and Language podcast, where we inspire, encourage, educate, and build community for hearing parents of deaf children. I'm Christy.
And I'm Beth. We're both hearing parents raising deaf children with cochlear implants. And as always, we want to remind you that we believe as long as you're giving your child love and language, you're doing a great job.
Yes. So in today's episode, we just want to talk about the team of professionals that work together to make a cochlear implant a success, because we have been recording episodes about what a cochlear implant is, and we want to get more into the surgery, but we also want you to understand that it does take a village, and all of the weight is not on your shoulders, though.
Yeah, but at the same time, don't forget that as parents, we are also part of this team, big part of it. Without further ado, let's dive into the different team members and what their roles are along the way.
So I think the first person that comes to mind that many of us experience early on is the audiologist. So they are who plays the role in assessing and diagnosing your child's hearing loss. They might be the first person to let you know that your kiddo has a severe or a profound hearing loss. And they are also the provider that helps fit for hearing devices, determine which one is a good fit based on where your needs are and what sounds you're able to access. For the audiologists, they are also who you will see after you get the cochlear implant, because they are responsible for mapping it and seeing how changes need to be made over time. So they are a pretty constant role in your life.
Next, we have the ear, nose, and throat doctor. So this is who performs that thorough evaluation of your child, and if needed, they'll perform that surgery to place the cochlear implant.
When I think of ENT, I just always thought of getting strep throat and antibiotics. So I thought it was really cool that they do this amazing surgery. So very cool. It's interesting how the ENT, besides a few of the pre-op appointments to make sure everything looked good and if she was a candidate, the actual surgery itself, and then one more follow-up afterward. She's great, Dr. Moody. If you're in Virginia area, she's a wonderful ENT who performs the surgery at CHKD. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the extent of specialized appointments.
Ours actually did Cooper's tubes as well. She didn't have to. That's like a minor thing, but it just made me feel better, and she was totally willing to. He had a lot of ear infections when he was younger, and that can be a concern more so than with kids without cochlear implants. So just the fact that she had done that surgery made sense for the second one. But yeah, I don't think we've had to see her since then, which was 2 years ago in June.
Wow.
So.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that's crazy. Time goes by and you're like, if she saw Charlie again, it literally is a whole other person. But obviously they're very important, because we wouldn't have anything without what they did. But the next team member, who is more of a consistent role depending on what your resources are, is a speech language pathologist, or the SLP. So they work closely with your child from a very young age to help develop listening and spoken language. We first met our SLP, Courtney, who is staying home with her baby now, who we miss a lot, but she was with us since Charlie was 2 months old, because early intervention had her provide her services right at the house. And I always joke, because until she had the surgery, she wasn't really Charlotte's SLP as much as she was mine, or just a guide for me. So in that first year, she really taught me the skills that Beth and I speak on a lot on these episodes, was just mirroring and just how much we speak. And she always supported us doing sign language. So she always really helped me do that sandwich approach, where I can say it and then sign it and then say it again, and have that all go together in a way that helps develop that language for Charlie. But it was more so her helping me in the beginning. Now, of course, Charlotte goes into her speech therapy sessions like a big kid. She just walks in there, and I wait in my car and she plays, and probably does a lot better because I'm not in the room. But yeah, definitely huge. They work really closely for us anyhow with Charlotte's education team to make her goals, figure out what she needs to work on for her IEP and what all that looks like.
Yeah, and that's a good segue into the next member that you'll be interacting with a lot, which is the educational audiologist. And their role is more to support your child in that educational environment, helping manage their hearing technology, advocating for the appropriate accommodations in the classroom. I touched on the Roger mic, that's a big one, just making sure that they have those extras that they might need. And then collaborating and discussing, talking with the other teachers and professionals at the school.
Yes, and that one varies depending on where you live and what your resources are like per state. A lot of times for an educational audiologist, it might just be for a school district and not in your school. That's totally common, and I'm not sure in more rural areas how that works. I think that an educational audiologist plays different roles depending on what school you're at. And I mentioned that Charlotte went to an option school for a few months at the Memphis Oral School for the Deaf. And there they do have an educational audiologist because their audiologist in-house literally maps and provides that information to the teachers to really adjust those accommodations. So this might or might not be a daily role in your life, but definitely still an important part of making sure your kiddo has what they need. When I was talking about Charlotte getting her speech language pathologist at 2 months old, that was through early intervention. So with early intervention, at least here in Virginia, we had a caseworker who literally, I think she must have called me the afternoon I found out Charlotte was deaf. Here in Virginia, when your child is diagnosed with a hearing loss, early intervention has a very quick timeline that they want to get in touch with you and make sure that you have resources that you need and help you navigate that, which that was such a long time ago because early intervention ends at age 3 in Virginia, and then we're on our own. But I definitely don't want to downplay the role that Amanda, our caseworker, had in what we did, because just like Beth and I said, when we were talking about finding out our kids were deaf and we did not understand all that information in the moment, my early intervention team and Amanda were who showed up with the pamphlets a week later and were able to say, okay, now that you've processed this, what questions do you have now? Or here's the options for the routes that you need to do.
Another key player, and this is probably honestly like the biggest one for us personally in our district, is the teacher for the deaf or hard of hearing. So they're trained specifically to work with kids with hearing loss and varying degrees. Ours also is fluent in sign language. And then they often are in collaboration with the SLP, the educational audiologist, and the other team members to figure out what you need to tailor for your child's specific needs, because your child's needs might be different than another student with cochlear implants even. So there's just that individualization that needs to happen.
Absolutely. Thank God for good educators and everybody on the team. Like, again, this is a team. We've been fortunate enough, both you and I, to have people who really care about the outcomes that our kids have. And they all play a part and they all work together with us. And then finally, you as the parent are certainly a big role. You are your child's first teacher, you're their strongest advocate, and you have to be actively involved in every part of their journey in order to help them have success, just like you would with any of your children, no matter what their capabilities were, what their additional needs and circumstances were. You play a huge role. It's just so much more than getting a device implanted. It's team, it's the follow through and the work.
Yeah, hopefully that was touching on everybody that's involved. It's really is a team effort to make sure that all parts of that are moving and benefiting each other. And each team member really brings their own unique expertise to support you, your child. And like Chrissy said, you're a part of the team too. And I think an important thing to note that we didn't really touch on is if you're assigned a certain person or a certain audiologist or somebody and you just don't jive, stand up for yourself, stand up for your child, and you can switch. In some educational capacities, there might only be one person in the role, but in most medical capacities, there's more than one person. And I think that's important to note.
Follow your intuition. I've always felt empowered by my team to make sure Charlotte's doing what she needs to do to make sure she's wearing her implants. And in a way that like I've known since day one that makes a difference. So if you are somebody that we're talking about who has a daycare team who's not part of the cochlear implant care team, just making sure that you're empowering them to give the same attention to that child. You just have to remind people how important it is.
I'm leaving from Mexico for vacation, and Coop is staying with my dad and brother, who have never had to twist his batteries off and put them on the charger or put a coil back in. I should take a video of every scenario that might happen, because you don't know what you don't know. And it's like, it's second nature to us to fix these things and troubleshoot them, but it's totally foreign to other people.
Hopefully this episode has given you a little bit of a better understanding of the team that is going to be helping with you guys.
And as always, thank you guys for tuning in to Love and Language. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with others, leave a review, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more episodes.
If we missed anybody that is a pivotal part of your cochlear implant team, if you are somebody who's in this journey and far ahead of us, please let us know so we can talk about that and update things. Because I don't know, maybe things look different for the high school years. I don't know. As always, as long as you are giving your child love and language, you are doing a great job, and we will see you in the next episode.